Okay, so hello everybody, welcome to week 3 of the Collab Lab. Today we're going to start with your demos. Which team wants to start? So Christina, you or Darren, Debbie?
I can start, it's fine.
Okay, nice.
Let me see that I can share. Can you see my screen? Yeah, so basically I can first start explaining what our project was about. So basically our PR was or our main goal was about allowing the users to join an existing list, an existing shopping list that they can manage with other members. And if the user doesn't have a token, we'll see a form to enter the token to join an existing list, and a button to create a new list on the home component. And if the list exists, the token is safe in the local storage, and the user goes to the list view and can see all the items. And if the list doesn't exist, then we will show an error message. And if the user has a token, which is always our case, whenever we test, it will be redirected straight away to the list view. So we basically work on the home components, and we check also the app component, the list one, and Firebase, which was very important. And we learned a lot from this because we basically have not a lot of experience with this, but well, I can basically start. So actually here in this, on the home component, we already had some code from previous tasks. And I can move it here so that you can see better. So basically, Debbie and I created this button last week, if you remember, Debbie. And I think it was Terry with Victoria created the form, and they actually created the form in one. So they separated the form in one component and the button in another one. So this button was, I think before was called submit or something like that. So we just changed the name. And as you see here, we have 2 event handlers. So this one on the input, that's actually is the function detects the, as you can see, we don't have it here. We move it to the other one. Well, but this function simply detects the value enter on the input and handles the change every time the user enters a value. And then we have the other one, the handle submit, that you can see here, this function. We call it when the user inputs a token and clicks on the join existing list button, which is here. And yeah, this function checks if the token exists with display name, and as you can see here, and if it doesn't, it throws this error here. And we also check if the token value is safe in the local storage. And in order to redirect the user to the list view, if the user already has a token, if you remember, we had to import, this is something that Debbie and I learned last week. So we have to import again the use navigate and use it here to redirect the user to the list view. And and another important thing is what I said before, that we also work on this component. Was a bit tricky because we had to check also on Firebase, and there were some things that we didn't understand. And basically, in the end, we created this function, the check token, to check in the Firebase database, right? Because we need to work with the collection. And what is the collection? In case you don't know, I can show you. So this is basically the collection. Can be found here in the database, and yeah, the collection basically stores documents. And this is why in our code we need to use getDocs that we import so that we can use it in the function. And yeah, getDocs, what it does is getting all documents from the collection to pass them here, and then we pass the token name to the collection to check if the token exists. And we also use the dot length here to get the amount of docs that we have in the collection. So basically, if now, oops, sorry, not this one. But well, we also like on the pull request, we did also a video that I guess you already see, but you already saw. But if we just try again, I think I will be redirected straight away to the list view because I already have a token. Yeah, but what we did here was basically something that I learned on my first week with Terry about the local storage. And can I just move this here? So as you see, I have this token, but I can remove it. And then I can simply go here again. And this is the view that we had before, where we just added, we just renamed this button. And here are already some things that we tested. So this is, for example, a wrong one. So whenever we input it there, then we will get the wrong message. And if we, for example, try this one, then I will go to a list that I already created by myself. So yeah, that is basically everything that we were working on last week. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, I know I've asked this question already to Christina. So she says she'll probably like get your view, like go for, she wants to get your view. But my question is, like when you go to the home page, how can I just use any token I want to create, like just enter any token of my choice, like maybe random names that just pop up in my head, and I just like enter it in the search query and just press enter. Would that validate me to go to the list view? Or I must actually like know the name of the token? Like, I don't know if you get my...
That if you can introduce just the token that you want.
It can be any token, right?
Are you asking, for security reasons, like if somebody starts adding randomly, is that the concern? Or are you asking if you can create a custom token, like choose your own token instead of getting the 3-word one?
Yes, that's my question.
Okay, so here in the program, the point is that the tokens get created. You can't enter your own token. And maybe this is probably a security feature, because if you see the tokens, they are, in this case, they are only 3 words long, and it's not very secure, but it follows the method of, like, for example, if you use 1Password, it asks you for a token string, that's a bunch of words. And this is a very secure way to have a password. So if it allowed you to enter very simple tokens, like maybe you would add a token Terry, this wouldn't be very secure, because I would easily be able to hack it. I would try out your name and join your list, even if you didn't want me there, even if I wasn't your friend and we weren't managing this together. So I think the point that it doesn't allow you to create your own tokens is because of security, because you see this token, it's very strange. You can't easily think about it and hack it. Yep, thank you. But I mean, if it trusted you to create a secure token, then it would be a nice idea to be able to create your own and share to your friend. So
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Where's Christina? Where did she go? Thank you very much, Christina. Did she? Okay, I was about to make comments and she left.
It's probably her internet.
Yep. Let's wait for a minute, and if she doesn't come back, we can check your demo and I can comment after she comes back. Okay, welcome back, Christina. Christina, are you back? Can you hear us? Mm.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can
Yeah,
you
and
hear?
really sorry, my computer got blocked and I had to restart. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
No problem, no problem. You're very quick. Anyway, so great job on the PR. I like how in the start you explained that you reuse some components, and yeah, you saw the benefit of reusing components and how quicker it is to develop. So if you keep this in mind when you make the components for the Collab Lab, it will really help you to be more productive. And
I
yes,
actually
please.
had one question because I think it comes from the previous task. Terry and Victoria, I think they decided to separate the form in one component and one button in another component. So I just wanted to ask why it was part of your previous task, or did you simply decide to do it that way? If you remember, Terry.
Okay, yeah, okay. So the reason why I did that was just for clarity's sake. So I just wanted to, I did not want the code to be very long. I just wanted to like split the various sections of the code to various components. So, but if that is a bit confusing or you don't like that method, we can simply like rewrite it in one full component and leave it like that. But the essence was just to like for the button component, so you can, instead of you creating the like let's say there are different pages on the website that has different like buttons, instead of you creating buttons on the same component for each of those pages, you can create like a component for the button and just like importing them importing them into those various components of the pages. Then instead of just writing every time you create a new component, you have to write a new button, you have to write a new form. So you can easily like reuse the form and the button components throughout your whole React projects. So that is the essence.
Okay, so you were just thinking of reusing again.
Yeah,
Okay.
reusable components. So that is the
Okay,
essence of
good.
React.
And this is going to help you a lot with styling, because then all of your forms will look the same and all of your buttons will look the same. So it's
That's true.
very
Yeah.
good.
I was actually thinking the other way around. I was like, why aren't they together? Because when we style them, we can also like position them together, you know, and that way we will have two separate files. But yeah, in that way it makes sense, of course. Didn't thought about that. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, and thank you for the demo. Everything worked properly and the code looked good. And I didn't look in detail at the code, but it was, I think it was a read by Peter, so that's okay. And anybody else have any questions? Patrick, maybe anybody else? Okay, Patrick maybe is stuck because I think, yes, the picture is stuck. So we can move on to Debbie and Terry's demo.
Yes, I think I can just jump in very quickly and do a very quick intro while Terry runs us through the code that we wrote. Okay, so our task this week was to add a bit more functionality to the list page, and this functionality would allow a user to use a form to quickly filter for something that they've added to the list. So if, for instance, you have a shopping list, you have like 15 items on there, but you want to quickly check for maybe lip gloss or bread or something, this would help you do that. So we did that by creating a form in the list view, and then we added some cool elements into that as well. So now I think I can just quickly share my screen and show you the, okay, 1 second, please. Okay, so I'm just going to do like a very quick demo. So this is what we have now, basically. So we added this tiny form here, and then these are some items. And so when you want to look for something, you type that in and it comes up very quickly. And we also add this tiny delete button here that allows you to just click off that and then, move on. So that's basically all we did this week. It's not much, but it's honest work. So I'm going to hand over to Terry to, take us away.
So I can't share my screen, so you have to give me right of access to be able to share my screen. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. So it's windy right now, so it will still rain, but I'll just continue. So what we did was to ensure that so we had to work on two components. Don't just one component, that is the list component. So the first thing we had to do was like import the useState hook to this component. And when we did that, we had to declare two variables, which is the search field and the update when you want to update the search field. So this should be empty on initial when you like start your app and you click on the. So when you start your app, the first instance of running this app should be empty, the input field. So if you click on this, it highlights this input field. So that is the essence. So nothing, no value will be here. But if you include a value here, let's say host, and you save it, there'll be a value within the input field. So that's just the essence of what we just like did initially, the state. So after that, we went to, so we just created this basic form, which is just with the form element, the label, and the input field. So this was created during our first task with I and Christina. So the next thing we wanted to like do next was like to create a function that whenever you type in the input field, there should be like a result from searching, like typing your results. So if you go to the console and just like console.log the value, every time you search, you type this in the input field, there should be a result in the console. So let's say this should result. So both values from the input field should result in what is on the console. It expects console field in the expect element. Sorry. So the next thing was just to. So when I did this, we had to like call the events. The event, is it the action or what? I can't really. But the events for the like getting the value for each of this input field. So in JavaScript, you want to get the value for any like the DOM element, like manipulating the DOM, you can always like use the value attribute to get the value for each of the type that whenever you type something on your browser, you get the results using the DOM manipulation method. So the next thing was we now had to destructure this. So this it's still the same thing as still typing it.target.value, but we had to destructure it and just like put it in like in squarely bracket and just imported this to this like when we now updated this search field, we now have to like convert this value, which is whatever you type here, to lowercase, to local lowercase. So the essence is that even though someone types both in capital letter and in both in uppercase and smaller case, it converts all the values to lowercase. So there's no like is it there's no difference in whatever someone types. So everything converts to lowercase. So the next thing we had to do was that we now had to like filter this data, which is gotten from this data, which is the array of objects. We now have to now have to apply the filter method to this data array of objects from the Firestore database. The essence of this filter method is just for getting the result of one value alone. So if you type something here, it only like brings out the result for each of this list of items. So once you type maybe eggs, it only brings out the specified item that you're searching for. It does not bring out the other results if it's not having the value that you're searching for. So if you type maybe PE, it brings out everything that has letter PE within the list of items. I don't know if I'm clear on this, but I'll continue what I have to say. So if you look at this, so if you console this array of objects, which is data, you can get the name attribute, because we're only like filtering what's the name of each of this data, which is the name. Like this is the name of each of these items in the Firestore database. But you can still get the ID, you can still get the other key, you can still get the other keys which is stored in Firestore. So, but we're just like querying only the name from the Firestore database. And when we had to get this name, we had to now convert it again to lowercase and use the include method, which corresponds to this search field. And this search field is actually like what is actually like type initially when you are typing in this input field. So if you do that correctly, it just brings out everything and make sure it matches what you've already declared in this function with what is in this value, target.value. So it compares both this function and this parameters here. So once you have done that, I think that's just everything. Now we now have to like put like an event, like an action, which is an unchanged event action, just so that whenever someone types something, it listens to what someone is typing on the keyboard. So using this unchanged event action, it just listens to what someone is typing on the keyboard. So that is the essence of that unchanged method or unchanged function. And I think that is just all. And this value is just the first item that, like the state, like this state is empty. So it corresponds to why this input field is empty initially when you start your app. I don't know. I think that's just everything I just have to explain. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you also, and great job. I tried it out and it works for all the cases you described. I like that you thought about the lowercase, because it would be very annoying from a user perspective if they had, typed something with uppercase, and then when they were searching it, if they had to type it exactly the same, it would be very annoying for them. So it's good that you convert in your code.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't have anything else to say because I made my comments on your code in the code review. So great job and keep up the good work.
Yeah. So another thing we're trying to like do, I and Debbie, was that, so if you search for something and in this search, this value is not like present in this list of items, there's supposed to like be like a message saying this item does not exist in in the list of items, but we could not do it. But I don't know if it's necessary. We should like put a message here so that people can be aware that if they don't have the right search term or search field, there should be a message popping out that they should try another, like they should try what is within the list of items. Yeah.
I mean, this, on one hand, the user can understand if they're not seeing anything. On the other hand, it would be very nice, you know, if you got a message that said no items. As we said, maybe say you entered the wrong terms, there are no items with this name. I would suggest you can add this in the final issues when you will have the freedom to make the app nicer. If you can keep this idea and add it then when you want to add enhancements. So
Okay.
great. Okay, so now we're done with the demos. Patrick, do you want me to present the issues first, or will you present the pair programming module? I will start with the issues. And okay, so let me share my screen and find the issues where I have them. Okay, everybody can see the screen, I guess. And this week we're going to do issue 7 and issue 8. So for issue 7, as a user, I want to say a welcome and prompt to add my first item if my list is empty to help me get oriented to how the app works. So when a user starts a new list, they need a little guidance on how to get started. Think through what you'd want to see as a user and make some intentional user experience decisions that will guide their users and confidently add in their very first item. So the acceptance criteria is that the list view, when there are no items to display, should show a prompt, example, a button for the user to add their first item. And here it says that this is not so detailed, but it basically explains what you want to do. So it redirects you to the list, but it has a button that takes you to add item. So you can add items. So the purpose here, why we're doing it, when you visit various apps, if you just enter the app and it doesn't explain anything, aren't you confused? So maybe now also when you see the shopping list, you're a bit confused and you think, okay, what should my next step be? And this is sort of a call to action or onboarding more specifically. So you can, for example, display a message that tells people, hello, you can add your first item. So in the text, you can write whatever you want, whatever you think. But you should, a prompt, I think the button is a good idea. I don't know if you can think of something else to show that they should do, or to add some text that says, okay, please go to click the add item link to be able to add a new item. But essentially it should say this, that your list is empty, and it should try to get users to add items, because if they don't add items, there is no point in the app. And I mean, I'll present the next issue and then each team can ask questions on the issue they pick. And the other issue is, as a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchased, so the app can learn how often I buy different items. So users need a UI that allows them to mark the items as purchased, so they can track what on their list they do and do not need to buy. So what the app is going to do is that if you, for example, have stored bread in your list and you buy it, you need to indicate that you bought it, so the list won't tell you to buy it again. So how we do this is the acceptance criteria is the list item component renders a checkbox with a semantic label. checking off the item, the UI also updates the date last purchased and total purchases property on the corresponding Firestore document. Because if you remember, the properties are there, but I'm not sure if they actually do something now, or they are null. I think maybe they are null. The item is shown as checked for 24 hours after the purchase is made. So we assume the user does not need to buy the item again for at least 1 day. And after 24 hours, the item unchecks itself so the user can buy it again. The update item function in Firebase.js has been filled out and sends updates to the Firestore database when an item is checked or unchecked. Okay, while you need to update multiple parts of the Firestore document for this feature, do not worry about date next purchased yet. This will be addressed in a future issue. And you can use the Firestore console to test that this feature is working correctly. For example, by manipulating the value of date last purchased. Because in this issue, the tricky part is that you need to test. So you need to test your app, but you can't wait for a whole day to see if how the app behaves. So you should be able to change the time. And this, let me check the wireframes because I think there is an example here. But basically, you add a checkbox next to each item.
So I think check
that-
issue 6, the wireframe. I think that should.
It's there because I don't remember where the wireframes are.
Terry, isn't that the feature we tried to add?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think issue
Yes.
6. Yeah,
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yep, so now you will add this part, the checkbox. So until now, you only have this text. And now you also need to add the checkbox. And okay, so let's go back to the issues. We have 7 and 8. And let me check the themes for this week. So the themes are.
I think it's me and Victoria this week. I'm just going to go out there and just say, I would love the opportunity to work on issue 7, please, and thank you. I can see Terry's face. He's not buying that.
I mean, you were first to pick it. I was.
So let's toss a coin.
No.
Go
No.
for. I think toss a coin so that you should be.
I do not want to toss a coin.
Next time when we start the call straight away, someone has to say, I want to have issue number. Before demo presentations, before saying hello.
Yeah, like I need issue 7. Hi everybody, welcome.
I'm Debbie, I need issue 7.
I mean, whoever picks issue 7 though, because it seems very simple and they finish quickly. If they have time in the week, they will need to add some other stuff too. So maybe do some refactorings and stuff like that. Because if you finish early, then you can just say, okay, I finished in 1 day and everything's done. So if you also accept this.
If they finish early, they can help us.
That's
cool.
That's even better. That's an even better idea. That if this team finishes early, they help. Yes, I like this idea. This is awesome. So I give this to Debbie and Victoria. Is it right?
Yeah.
Okay, and Christine and Terry get the next issue. Any questions? Because I just presented them superficially and probably you have questions on one of the issues or both.
Not now, maybe tomorrow when we read them in detail.
Yes, that's a great idea because especially 8 is a bit more complicated. So please, if you ask tomorrow, if you have questions, so you can start. As I said, 8 is tricky. It's tricky to test a bit. It's not so much difficult to make, but you need to test it a lot and pay attention to this. This part especially is tricky. that
The 24 hours, yeah.
yep, when we marked it as checked. And so the other team, Debbie and Victoria, will also have the task of testing this very thoroughly. So when it's time for a code review, you will need to test it out. So you will also need to think about how to test it.
Okay,
And
sure.
how to figure out this, how to change the times in the database and test it.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. And okay, I just saw some messages. Let me check. And okay, so thank you very much, people. Patrick, will you present the learning module, the one on pair programming? Okay, thank you very much.
Hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. It has been some time previously I wasn't able to make it on the call. But I was very joyful for the work that you have been working. I had a chance to go through the PRs that you guys raised. The way that you are making it is so awesome. Right, and I can say that let's keep up the good work. Awesome. So today we're going to quickly go through the pair programming. We share my screen. Okay. Awesome. So I hope you guys have been doing good. I'm also fine, except that I have a little bit of flu. As you can hear, I'm sounding. I have a little bit of flu, but it's going to get better. All right. So hope you can see my screen. Let's go through the peer programming. I want us to share the platform. Anyone of us be able to let us know how he or she does the peer programming, the experience with peer programming. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So basically, peer programming is all about the exercise of sharing your ego. So it's nothing but the way developers, either remote or on site, they can be able to share one computer and both contribute to building the code. Let's take an example. So I think an example can be more self-explanatory. All right, let's say like, okay, let me exit. Okay, so let us say like we have maybe a member of us, let's say like Terry, and we want to maybe debug on something, okay? Like we previously did on the office hours. So whenever we have like a bug or something to fix, so one of us can choose to go on the computer and another one can choose to guide, and we try to fix something. Let's say like maybe Terry has a computer and he will share the screen. Of course, he is the one having the access to the keyboard and is going to be able to type something. And I am going to be guiding him, telling him, you know what, go to this line, add this, remove this, do it like this, share this side, like that, such a thing. So that is basically what we call peer programming. So we can do it either remotely. That is when two people are not together at the same time. They can achieve that using maybe like some e-meeting platforms like Zoom. We can do some of it. All right. It can also be done when people are together. Let's say like we are in the same office. We are having one computer. You are having maybe a bug to fix. We can come together and I tell you that, you know what, type this, do this and this. So that is what we mean by peer programming. So you guys, I hope now everyone can see that you have ever done peer programming, of course. All right, I will let you guys share how your experience with that. All right. Okay, let's move on. So basically, let's dive into some concepts of peer programming. I basically said this, the driver, of course, the driver is the one having the access to the keyboard, having the access to the keyboard. Then the navigator is going to be the one guiding the driver. Okay, they try to use this example, let's say like in racing. So in racing, you know that we have a driver, we have the driver who is controlling the car, and we have a navigator who has the access to the map and clearly understands the map. So the navigator is going to be navigating the driver, telling him that, you know what, you can turn around here, you can go to the left, you can be careful on the next 2 meters, such a thing. So that is the same concept that we bring into pair programming. One is having the access to the keyboard, and the one with the access to the keyboard. The one with the access to the keyboard is the one typing something, okay? And the one the one we can call navigator is that person who says like, you know what, type this, do this, let's preview, move to this page, move into this component, such a thing. So you guys have been doing this, right? Okay, let's basically look into peer programming, which is done remotely, because we are collaborating remotely, and this is the skill that we need as a team which is operating remotely. Most of the times we'll be having errors. Most of the time we'll be having bugs, or you are not understanding how you can achieve something. So as a team working remotely, and we need to be able to deliver. So what we go with, we use pair programming. How does this work? Okay, we have a chat here. So two developers hop on a video or a screen share call, like we are on a call. The next thing is going to be the driver shares the screen, okay? Then shares the screen and the codes, while the navigator provides feedback and asks questions. So that is how it is basically done. Terry is going to share the screen, and I am going to be the navigator. I'm going to be guiding him on how we can move into it. We can move around with it. All right. Okay, the driver pushes the code to the remote repo, and navigator pulls the code down locally. So we can interchangeably, we can do this interchangeably. Okay, so I'm using an example of Terry and I. So Terry initially was the driver, and he can shift to the navigator, and I become also I shift to the driver. So how are you going to achieve that? The way we're going to be achieving that, Terry will push the codes to the repo in a separate branch, and I am going to be pulling all the changes. I'm going to be pulling all the version of Terry, then adding some codes. Okay, you can see that now we are trying to act interchangeably. One is a driver and can be able to shift to the navigator like that. All right. Driver and the navigator swap roles and start back at step 1. All right, that is how it works. You can be able to swap the roles, then we start as well. If we swap the roles, then I'm going to also share the screen. The Terry is going to be guiding me. I'm going to be pushing the code, such a thing. I hope this is clear. Right, you guys, all right, so let's share the resources. So we have a number of resources that we can use to maybe get to know more about the pair programming. So I share the slide, so you can be able to access any link that you want. Right, but before I give the platform back to Golf, so I will need you guys maybe let's make it a bit interactive. One can share the experience you have been having with peer programming, right? Okay, cool. I'll stop sharing my screen. Awesome. Okay, cool. So anyone feel like you want to share the experience he or she has been having with peer programming? Or before you go, is it clear?
I can jump in and just say that yes, it is very clear. Thank you so much for taking us through that presentation. In the program, I've actually had a wonderful experience with pair programming. When I worked with Christina, sometimes she would act as the driver and write some code, and I would just try to like add a couple of quips and say, oh, why are we doing this? And why do you want to do that? And working with Terry this last week too has been really great because I was mostly the driver and he was the navigator for a while, and then we'll switch places as well. And it's been really, really good because as you are thinking something, your partner is also, you know, maybe catching your errors and explaining things. And it's kind of like two people sharing the same brain. It's really, really fun. And I'm really glad to have these resources so that we can at least learn better practices of how to do pairing better. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
it's very funny the way you present this. Like I didn't know about the concepts of driver and navigator. It's the first time that I hear them, but now that I think about it, yeah, it's, as Debbie said, is the way we did in the last weeks. Like now I can say that I work with all my colleagues, and it has been like we have been switching roles all the time. So, and then you have two different perspectives on how to work on the same task. So yeah, it makes a lot of fun, and yeah, it brings also a lot of learnings on how to work together. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Great.
So
Yes,
for
Terry.
me, I think, yeah, I've also had wonderful experiences with everybody. So there's no one that's in this current program that has not like pair programmed with like each other. So we do that regularly, sometimes even multiple times a day or even throughout the course of the week. So it is fun and you get to learn, get to like understand how people work because you actually like do this in real life after this program in your jobs and everything. So it's just like preparing you to actually like just preparing your mind that this is what you do for the long time, for a very long time. As long as you're a programmer, you have to do it because you may never even have the opportunity to see each other maybe physically in an office. So we just have to do this virtually every time of our developer career life. So I think it's a good one. And yeah, I understood everything that you presented, Patrick. Thank you.
For me, I can also share something I like about pair programming. It's not only that you get help on the current issue you're working on, you see some small things that the other person does. Like, for example, they know a Git command that you don't know, or maybe they're using a nice VS Code extension you don't have, or they know a cool VS Code shortcut, and you get to share the knowledge. I like this very much.
Yeah, that is true because I know even for the last week we worked and Debbie, so I showed her like a shortcut and she was like, wow, she never knew this. And yeah, I agree with you 100%.
That was so exciting for me, Terry. Like I have it written down in my notes. And it was just so cool to know because I've been getting really stuck at that point every time I try to look at all of my remote branches and I'm like, how do I get out? And it was just so freaking cool to learn.
And also in pair programming, you like to show off the stuff you know, and you use the shortcut. When you are alone, maybe you won't use it or you won't try to remember it. So it helps you practice.
But is that like in real life, like when you are working on a company, do you always do pair programming, or there is like when you start on like working on a task, do you start working individually, like each colleague separately, or like how do you organize or when do you decide that you start working together?
Okay, so for me, in the companies I've worked, I've seen various approaches to this. Or, for example, I've heard from somebody that at their company, they always do pair programming. It's their sort of like their policy. In other companies, they rarely do pair programming. I believe that pair programming is mostly useful if you are doing something that's difficult and complicated. But of course, this depends on the level of the people programming. So if it's, I imagine that if it's two seniors, there isn't much point in pair programming on a very simple feature, but it makes sense if they pair program on a very difficult bug. Or I'm not sure who said it. I'm not sure if somebody here on the Collab Lab wrote it, is that pair programming can also be a sort of code review. So you don't, or I read this on LinkedIn, that it's not so necessary to do a code review afterwards if two people pair together. So for me, that's my opinion, that if it makes sense to pair program, like if you get value from each other, if it's something easy, it might not make sense, because then one person just types and types and types, unless the other person is junior and it's something very easy for the senior and the junior can see and learn. So yeah, it's up to your judgment, I believe. And about companies, as you asked me, so some companies have policies and try to enforce pair programming, and some others don't care and some others don't. But so it's up, sometimes it might be up to you to ask somebody to pair program with you.
Why do you think that some companies don't really care about it? Because actually it sounds more efficient, right? Like when you are pair programming, like you can also like test with one colleague and like 4 eyes see better than 2 and all this kind of thing. So
maybe because if it's not in their culture and they've not done it before, maybe because, as you said, I also believe it's more efficient, but maybe if they haven't done it before, they might think it's a waste of time or something. So I believe that the companies that don't do it haven't really tried it and seen the benefits. So I believe it's bad if nobody ever pair programs in a company.
So would you like really would you say that, so this is just like an example. So for instance, if you're working on a task, you do not like pair program immediately they give you a task. I think is when you get stuck and maybe you've tried all the possibilities and then maybe you Googled and nothing is seem to work, you tend to meet your maybe senior dev or like maybe the tech lead or CTO trying to like, oh, would you likely want to check this? Give me a helping hand. And but I don't think every company would actually like allow every developer pair program immediately you get your task. So it's probably when you've actually like exhausted all your lifelines and you like, oh, I need some help. That's when a fellow developer can come in. Yeah, that's what I just believe and what I think.
Yeah, because as I said, it doesn't make so much sense to, for example, watch the other person just type in some simple CSS, because this wastes the time. So if nobody else has any questions or experience to share, okay, Patrick isn't here, but he did a great job, and I want to thank him, but he isn't here. He probably disconnected.
No, he dropped a message on the Slack. So he's saying his battery went flat.
Okay, his PC went off. Okay, so then I'll just let you know that this week I'm going to be doing code reviews and office hours. And the office hours, I think it's a good idea to have them on Wednesday. So this way you will already have worked a bit on your issues. So if you have questions, we can try to solve them. And it's going to be early enough for you to be able to work on them.
Peter won't be this week, he
I
said,
think
right?
he will be missing the whole week, and let me check, but he will probably be back for the next weekly, but I think in the week he's going to be missing, so yeah, if you ping him, he won't respond because he's going to be on vacation.
Ah, okay. So if we have any questions, we tag you or Patrick.
Me and Patrick, yep.
Okay, good.
So before we end the call, I kind of like have a concern or maybe suggestion. So concerning the wireframe, I think for each issues, there should be like the right screenshots, not like issue 6. I and Debbie thought we were just working on the check boxes and all those stuff. So I think there should be like a guided approach when wireframe is being added to each of these issues, because you do not want to like confuse the user or confuse us trying to like, oh, you are working on this and it's not required for that particular week. So I think there should just be like appropriate wireframe for each of these issues for each week. So yeah, that's just my own concern.
Yep, I will transfer this feedback to the rest of the team. So Stacy and Andrew, who lead the Collab Lab, because yeah, I think this is a good idea that there could be wireframes of the final version, so you have an idea how it's supposed to be in the end. And also each week it should have a wireframe that shows you how it's going to be until that week. So this is a very good idea.
Yeah.
And I'm going to transfer this feedback. So I don't think Patrick will be joining, but I mean, even if he joins, we don't have anything else to say, so we can just thank him in Slack for the presentation.
Yeah, sure.
So thank you very much, all of you. Have a great week, and please don't forget to merge the.
That is a question also, like whenever we finish, we have to merge or you merge? Because last week, I think, I don't know, some of you, I don't know if it was Patrick, said mentors are the ones who merge.
I know we discussed this, and collabs are supposed to merge, so you can also figure out the merge process. Mentors must approve, so you must wait for an approval by mentors.
Yeah.
And then you merge it. So
Okay.
now I will give my approval and you can merge it.
Okay, because Victoria already did. So that's why I was asking, I was like, maybe we were too fast.
Okay. You mean on the issue I haven't approved yet, but I said that it's okay. I mean, we should write it out somewhere on Slack, because I'm not sure if it was in the what was it called, the orientation, but we should have somewhere on Slack and pinned that, okay, here is the code review process and the merge process, because each week we have questions and we are confused. So I will write on Slack.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a nice start to the week.
Okay, bye. Have a nice week.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.